Witchy Web We Weave.
Yeah.
I'm Alex.
I'm Alara.
And this is one of our very first videos, actually the first video after our intro video, so yay! This video is kind of just touching a little bit on actually something we talked in our intro, which is witching on the cheap. We figured this was a good place to start because it's pretty generic. It's going to be where to get really basic tools, basic items, and not, break your bank.
Yeah, basically just where to look. Some of the first places that I started going to, and I think, it's a good idea to start out with. I guess I'll start us off. I think one of the best places to go is dollar stores. Like, I love dollar stores. This is my jam, is where I go to get most of my candles, actually, because I know they're not called the 7-day candles, but they're like the pop-outs that really don't pop out, but they're in like the glass containers. Most dollar stores that I have found have those in most of the basic colors except for black, but we'll get to that later. But you can find white, red, yellow, green, blue, I think, are like the big ones.
And I've seen pink sometimes.
Really? Well, I would love to get some pink. But that covers you for most of your basic witchy needs when you're first getting started. Plus, it's a really good place to find just basic glassware and things like that to just kind of get yourself going.
For sure. And then you found other stuff there, like...
I did. I actually found a lot of stuff at the dollar store. One of my things is I like using sand at my altar while I'm working and doing spells. I use it for meditation. I use it for drawing sigils and like spells and viewing things, just setting intentions really. And what I do, I found a little glass plate at the dollar store and I filled it with sand that I also found at the dollar store, and I'll just draw in the sand and banish it whenever I'm done. And that's really good for just basic temporary stuff that in your workings. I've also found seashells at the dollar store that certain seashells I have different associations with. So I use it in my grid work along with my crystals sometimes, and I use it in different spells. I'm actually really interested in consciomancy, but that's probably going to be
a whole different video
later down the line.
If we can even get enough information on it.
Right.
The other thing that just reminded me is glass and sand. You can actually probably use that as an incense burner. Just put like a little stick in there, and then it's safe wherever, as long as it lands in the sand, of course. Before
I got like proper holders, I actually put my candles, my incense sticks, my incense cones in sand. And some dollar stores will have the little tiny little terracotta
pots for planting.
And they come with the little plates. Those are great if you are really nervous about having like fire hazard in your apartment. Just put one of those little terracotta plates down, put a little sand in it, and you've got a place to like put your matches out in, put like
you can even burn charcoal in those.
Yes. It's really good if you're nervous about fires and you're just starting out and you need something like real quick, real cheap to put your incense on, to burn it. Like, that's what I first used.
The other thing, it's not quite a dollar store, but things like Big Lots, they have more food options. I know some Dollar Trees, dollar stores have some very light variety of food, snacks, stuff like that, but Big Lots gets more into supermarket territory, so you can get dry herbs and some stuff like that. Sometimes they're definitely anyone that sells salt and pepper. Salt is something that you use in witchcraft. And
not just because it's supernatural. I'm gonna work this into every show, I swear.
This one. But yeah, and then I'm pretty sure pepper's used in a couple things too.
I use it for protection.
There you go.
And warding.
Because it's black.
If you need to light a fire under someone's ass, or if you need them to get the hell out of Dodge. So, hey, it works. Also, like chili powder or red pepper. Most of the time you can find that in any basic like dollar store.
If you're being really on the cheap, steal some of them packets from Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
The chili flakes, even if you don't eat it, you can just take a pack and be like, oh, can y'all give me some chili packs? Boom, free chili. I mean, you're paying for the pizza, but
you get the idea. Some other places, Goodwill. When I first started out, Goodwill was amazing. Just because I already went there for whenever I got in the mood for a crafty project and I just needed to pick up something really cheap that I could repurpose or paint. And it was something that didn't really attract a lot of attention for those of you that are witching from the closet. But I actually went there initially right after I decided to get into all of this for a statue, for a kind of like a guardian, to do a protection spell, like a household guardian, kind of like the old gargoyle idea. But that's actually where I found one of my main animal totems that that had already kind of been part of my journey, and it was just kind of sitting there waiting for me. So it's a really good place to find just random things that happen to walk into your life. True. Oh, and if you find something and you like the idea, but it's not the right color, paint it in black or something. It'll still work.
You can definitely, paint it or... Yeah, association with color is very personal too. It doesn't have to be like, if you read something in a book online and it's like, oh, green is this, yellow is this.
It's whatever your own interpretation.
Yeah, you can definitely switch it up. Like, for a lot of people, green is money, but it could easily mean anything else.
It's just all in how you look at the world. Go with what works for you, what has meaning to you. That is always going to get you closer to your practice. Make it more personal. But in that same vein, a lot of times charity stores are also a really good place to look. One, because it's not going to arouse suspicion for the most part, and two, that's actually normally a really good place to find like normal glassware. Like I use a lot of like offering dishes, offering chalices. It's where I put a lot of my to hold my seashells and sand and things like that.
Real quick, you mentioned offering.
Yeah. The
only thing I would be wary of if you're shopping at dollar stores or any store, honestly, especially if you have a deity or deities, this is not really going to affect so much other folks. This is more like if you're doing an offering, don't go super cheap on those, please. If your deity, because a lot of deities like honey, you can get a bottle of plain old clover honey and it's not going to kill you. I mean, a bottle like this is what, maybe $3 or less? If you're gonna go cheap, go cheaper on things like sand, glassware, incenses, as long as they're not gross.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
But yeah, do not put fake honey on an offering. Do not put, I don't know, I just saw that example somewhere and I'm like, don't
that's
do that.
Like one of the few areas that I actually splurge on is stuff specifically for my lady. That's like when I actually break into the money a little bit.
Yeah, and then some deities only will really accept the good stuff. So there's some deities that do enjoy imbibing they like offerings of alcohols, and you want to go, for the most part, good.
Even with that, you can still go a little bit more affordable if you are not offering it, if it's for like a special occasion offering for your deity. If you only have a little bit of money, you can't really splurge on a big bottle of the good stuff. A lot of alcohol stores will have a little section of I don't know what they call it, but they're like the little tiny...
It's almost like sample bottles, like shot bottles, kind of like you get on an airplane.
It's a good way to test different liquors for your deity to see which ones they prefer and like. And then it's also a really good... It's more affordable if it's, occasionally for only special occasions. And then on top of that, you can reuse the bottles in your spellwork and potions.
Sometimes they're plastic.
I wouldn't recommend the plastic ones for reuse, but sometimes the glass ones are really good.
But yeah, if you don't do deity or you don't do offerings, I really wouldn't worry about that as much. This is just a little side note.
The only thing that reminds me of is we were talking about this earlier. With some items in dollar stores and things, you need to be very careful on whether or not they are the real stuff or if they are the cheaper things, like with honey. If you're going to get something like honey, make sure it's actually honey and not honey syrup.
Fake stuff,
honey syrup. That stuff is
That was the one example I'd seen. I don't know if it was in an article or another video or something, and someone's like, yeah, I got this, like, honey.
Yeah.
And, like, they bought it knowing it was fake. Like, if you really don't know, or I even heard that some clover honey is actually fake honey.
Oh,
it's just marketed as, oh, it's real honey.
Okay.
Also, fun note, I also learned that bleached sugar is not vegan.
Oh.
So if you got any kind of thing, if you're looking to offer sugar and for whatever reason you're looking to go vegan on it, don't buy bleached sugar.
Vegans take note. Okay.
And then in that same realm, we don't have them in our area, unfortunately, but there's a store called Savers.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
And it's basically a Goodwill store. That's the same kind of thing. They do sell a lot of their own brand stuff, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lived in Vegas for a while, and they had Savers all over the place there. Mm-hmm. And I went in near Halloween, and they have like their own Halloween section of stuff that's their brand of costume. It was mostly costume stuff.
I like Halloween stuff. Sometimes you can repurpose that stuff.
Mm-hmm. But the thing that was cute was they had like a kind of chic witch hat. It was kind of like a little. Aww. It was almost like a witch hat and like a fedora had a baby.
Oh,
so it was kind of like the little.
Do you remember when they had like the goblet, the goblet tournament, and the very pretty ladies in blue came and they had like the little. Like
a little bit like that. A little bit like that.
Okay, that's kind of what I had in my mind, but that would have been super cute.
But yeah, a little bit like that. And then they had some other ones that were like full, but they were like kind of wool. Like they were thick hat.
Well, like, if you're in the looking around for a witchy hat, that would be a good idea.
Not bad.
I also like the idea of repurposing from nature what you can. So if you're going on walks, find a stick, turn it into a wand. Turn it into decorations. You were really bad about that, about picking up sticks wherever you go.
I have a collection of sticks.
Yeah, but actually a lot of things that were my first offerings for my deity and things like my first things that I really set on my altar that meant anything to me. I actually got on long nature walks. Sometimes you don't have to spend a thing to find something that matters to you.
Yeah, actually I got something really cool on one of my last walks that I did because I have like a little forest path near my house. And it's kind of like the little cup of the acorn where it sits.
Yeah.
It was still attached to the stick though, so it looked like a little wine glass almost.
Oh, that's cute.
So I was like, okay, that's cute. But yeah, so you can really find some stuff. Be careful picking up things if you don't know if it's poisonous.
Oh, that's true.
Disclaimer: do not pick berries or anything if you don't know what it is.
Right. Because some of them, just contact with hands will be an irritant.
Yeah.
So just be aware of what you're picking up.
Yeah, sticks for the most part are safe.
But if you are going to go to stores to specifically buy something and you don't really want to spend a lot of money, there are other options too. If you're like, I would have never thought of this. This was actually her that suggested it to me. I was looking around for a mortar and pestle because I wanted to start blending my own incenses and things like that. And she told me that like a TJ Maxx or a Ross.
I think it was a Home Goods, which is owned by TJ Maxx. It's the same thing. It's just more home stuff than clothing.
I found a really nice mortar and pestle, like a marble one, for $8.
Yeah, and that's where I got my wooden one. Like they have wooden ones, they have marble ones. They've had other like it's not quite soapstone, but it's somewhere between marble and soapstone. It's just another stone. But yeah, and a lot of them are under $20.
And see, I was thinking that a mortar and pestle was going to put me back like 20, 30, $40. Especially with the ones I was looking at on like Etsy, eBay, places like that. So apparently, that is the best place to go if you're looking for a mortar and pestle. Some other places to go are craft stores. As you'll find out from us, we're really big crafters. We like to make a lot of things. I'm a do-it-yourselfer, and I get craft fever. But the good thing is with specific places like Joann's or Hobby Lobby, if you have them. Those specific stores, they always have some kind of coupon out that you can use. So you can pick up really good stuff on the cheap. I always go there for like the really small decorative potion bottles. I love those things. They also normally have a regular sale on their candles that are unscented. As well as just regular items that you can use to make your own rune set and, things like that. Like, if you really get creative, you can do wonders.
And then as far as that goes, yeah, I made my own rune set, which we'll touch on later in other videos. You can make stuff out of clays. You can make stuff out of... For that, though, because you can make something out of polymer clay, and then you can make a mold out of it for some stuff.
Oh, you can make candles from that or so.
Mm-hmm. I would recommend if you're gonna, you can use it for statuary too. I would honestly recommend maybe using more of the natural clays for statuary though, just because polymer has a lot of plastics in it. That's what polymer clay is.
Also mentioning before, like sometimes you don't have to spend a thing to make something meaningful. One of the things that I've actually been toying around with is the idea of if you're gonna make statuary or your own homemade set of runes, maybe making it out of salt dough.
And we'll probably get to that in some video, like you making something out of that just to show what that looks like.
Because it can be made with just stuff around your house, and it lasts really long, and it actually looks pretty nice. And I think a lot of, like, I don't know, it has a better vibe than some other options.
Some other options.
So, moving on, I think other good places to look are, for me, I love antique stores.
Yeah, we do that sometimes just for fun.
We like antiquing. The only thing is, don't go to the ones that are in like the city circle where you're gonna go there and everything is 3 times what it normally is for price wise. Go to those antique shops that look like they are like closed down from the outside. The actual antique malls that have the tons of vendors in them.
It's basically like a garage sale that people have space in.
It's beautiful.
It's pretty great. And
it's actually where I went to find a really nice bell for an altar bell. And actually I think it's silver. It's like 0.925 silver. So
So yeah, just things, it's literally a garage sale. So if someone had bells laying around, didn't need them for sale, you know. I found other stuff at antique stores. I can't really think of a lot right now.
I found some figurines. I found really nice glassware. If you need sometimes a mirror, even if it's a smaller mirror, that's a really good place to go.
That's right. I bought one.
Perfume bottles that can be repurposed to hold anointing oils or spell oils.
True. I actually bought remember I have a little silver double-sided mirror.
Oh yeah.
And it's in it's a jewelry box. It's not really an altar space, but it kind of looks like an altar. And I've got a lot of, like, one side is jewelry, and then I've got a lot of stones and herbs and other things in there, but my little double-sided mirror is in there, and I bought that at an antique store. You can turn it
into a compact altar or something like that.
Excuse me.
But there are also other places that you can look, like, online. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more careful if you're looking online, because things might be a little bit pricier, but places like eBay and Etsy, sometimes you can find really good stuff for pretty affordable prices.
That's where I got my jewelry box.
Oh.
With eBay.
Oh, okay then. Like one of the things with Etsy, I've actually seen some pretty affordable for what they are, beeswax candles. If you are like this one and you prefer to use beeswax candles rather than soy candles, I've seen some pretty decently priced stuff. You just have to be a little bit more vigilant. You have to kind of look a little bit more, but sometimes they're there. You can find them. Another thing that we want to mention, but heavily caution with, is use of websites like Wish or AliExpress.
Yeah, something like that. I've bought a couple things on Wish, and it is very, very, very hit and miss. I'm actually just ordered a couple things for the channel, so we're gonna do a haul here as soon as it all comes here in like 4 months, whenever it shows up. Apparently it's gonna be here by June, so not too far out. So
okay,
just a couple weeks.
But sometimes you can find a few things, and we might actually later down the line, when we scrounge up a little money, we may do a Wish or an AliExpress haul for witchy items to just see what kind of quality actually comes in.
For sure.
Because I think that would be really interesting, and there are a couple of tarot decks that I've seen on some of those shows, or some of those websites, that I actually kind of want to check out the quality just to see if that's a viable option for people that are just getting into tarot and they want like a really affordable Rider-Waite-Smith deck, because I've actually specifically seen that one on one of those websites for like $3 shipping free.
Yeah.
Things like that.
No, and then what's really wild is I was just looking for whatever, and I actually saw like a mortar and pestle in there for like $2.
What?
So I feel like we should just order some random stuff and see about quality and stuff. The only things we would be wary of are stones, probably.
Yes, be very wary of stones.
Just because I don't know enough about stones really to like be able to hold it in my hand and be like, well, is that a citrine? I don't know. Like, I don't know
We can
enough.
for some, but a lot of them are way too close to be able to tell, especially with ones like citrine, because a lot of times they will just dye a stone and say, oh, it's citrine, it's yellow, yada, yada, yada. It's not.
The only other thing I could think of maybe is like they sell seeds for plants.
Don't trust the seeds.
I don't know about that. But everything else I feel like to an extent with a heavy grain of salt.
Yeah.
Things should
You may be able to find
work.
a few things. But again, this is one we haven't really tried as much ourselves, so we urge caution. But it was just an idea to toss out to y'all to think over. I don't know if you're anything like us. We're both readers.
Yes.
And a lot of what we might be suggesting coming here in our future videos are going to be references and specifically book references. If y'all are looking for witchy books, if you have it, one of the best places to go is Half Price Books. It's a store here in our area of the U.S., of the...
Texas.
Yeah, of the States.
It's in other states, but
yeah, but
we know for sure it's here, and there are a lot of them.
Yes, it is the best place ever. I love Half Price Books because they do often have metaphysical sections, and because it is a secondhand bookstore,
It's literally half off.
Sometimes
or more.
Yeah, literally. If you take the book, flip it over to the backside, and look at what the original sale price is, unless it's something like top seller or
and
like,
even then, some of the brand new stuff, like I think I got a copy. Not that Harry Potter's brand new, but I got a copy of one of the later books for like $1, and it was like a hardback.
Oh.
And it was like in perfect condition. Like it wasn't like ripped or stained or nothing.
Okay, that's impressive.
So.
But sometimes you can find some gems.
Oh yeah.
From a secondhand bookstore. So even if you don't have Half Price Books, if you have a secondhand bookstore, go check it out. Sometimes you will be amazed what you find.
And look in sections that also don't necessarily say metaphysical.
Yes.
Look, for example, we're going to be talking about herbs a lot, and I was looking in the metaphysical section for books on herbs, kind of get more lore behind them. I wanted something, what was that name of the book? Like Devil Plants or...
Oh!
There's a book that we will be getting. I'm getting it eventually because it sounds adorable. But I wanted a book kind of like that, give me some more folklore.
You call that adorable Devil Plants.
Whatever. Anyway, so you know, like it sounds like a good idea. It sounds like good folklore things from how things were viewed at one point. And I was looking for, someone else must have written herb books, and I was actually looking for a copy of the herb book by...
Oh, don't ask me to remember the titles.
I forget his name right now.
We'll put it in the description below, okay?
Yeah, real famous herb book. They didn't even have anything by these folks, and I was
no.
I was like, gee whiz. And then I found some like herbal healing books, and those were just dictionaries basically, and I was like, no. And I actually ended up in the gardening section.
Yeah.
And that's where I got full books, full color books, with pictures and how to lay out a garden for herbs, and it'll tell you these are poisonous, these are edible, these are how these grow, and then you can look up which ones might have metaphysical stuff. And like I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of different herbs.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. When you go to your secondhand bookstore, you don't have to just look in the metaphysical section. There are so many other sections that you can look in. Like, I go to, like, the arts and crafts section sometimes and look and see what they have. Because sometimes I get some really fantastic ideas for altar projects from just regular craft books. And then there's also mythology section if you're trying to find out more about your deity. As well as the culture from which your deity may come from, or even if you're not looking for a specific thing about deity, if you're wanting to learn more about a specific culture because their practices call to you, that's a really good place to look. I've also seen stuff in like theology, philosophy, if you're wanting to broaden your spiritual horizons for things like meditation books, yoga books, Buddhism, Taoism, and things like that. But I think that secondhand bookshops are really underutilized. You can find a lot of really useful things just looking around.
They're a gem.
They're a gem. Just in general.
For sure. And then, if you don't have one locally, they do have a website. That will be in the description, but we're just going to say it out loud. It's literally just hpb.com, because it's half price books. But yeah, so then they ship, I'm pretty sure, to anywhere in the States. I don't know about anything outside of the States, but, you know, I was on there, and they were willing to ship to Vegas, where we have none. So, it's like any other website.
Also, a really good resource to look at when you're looking for specific books. When you have a book in mind and you're trying to figure out where to get it affordably, one of the websites that I use is isbns.com. It is the website, if you flip your book over and
the barcode.
The barcode. That's basically what an ISBN is. It's code for that specific book. You go onto this website, you can look it up by author, you can look up by title, you can actually look up by the barcode number. And it will show you that book, multiple websites where it can be found, and it will show you what price it is and what the shipping is, so you can find the best price to get specific books at. And that's actually where I got some of my first witchy books that I was specifically looking for really great price.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I got a really fantastic, if any of y'all know anything about like mental health, I had to purchase a copy of the DSM-5, which is like the textbook of mental health diagnoses. That thing is normally like $50. I got it for like $20.
Whoa.
So
yeah, because I know about that book, because I worked at Barnes & Noble, and we had those behind the counter, and those were super expensive, and they were always like, people got to ask for them, and we had to watch them read it. Like, you could not leave the counter with it because it was that expensive.
Yeah, so you can find it's a really great resource, even if not just for witchy things. Books in general, if you're looking for specific ones, it's fantastic.
And if we're going to talk about books in general, I don't like promoting them, but Amazon.com.
Oh, yeah.
Not the biggest fan, but those are personal reasons. We're not going to get into that, but you can't argue with, they've got pretty good shipping, or free shipping if you're a Prime member, and they're literally the largest bookstore in the world right now. So, if you're looking for stuff that maybe doesn't really print in your area, I know you can even go on like Amazon, like .uk.
Oh yeah.
And your shipping's gonna kill you, but you can find it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of shipping, you know, overseas is really especially in places like Australia. I hear it's terrible.
Yeah, no. But yeah, you can, like, I found, like, weird editions of DVDs and books that were exclusive to other countries. Oh. And you can still get them, but the shipping will probably kill you, and your Prime is probably not going to kick in on those.
One of the last things specifically that I think I would really like to touch on as far as witching on the cheap, where to look, is specifically if I've got like one specific place that I go to for a lot of like items that's hard to find in other places, because I don't really have the money to shop at a lot of metaphysical stores. Like I said, really the only time I splurge is for things from my specific deity. So one of the places that we recently found out about, and we went there, and oh my god, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was almost overwhelming. Like, I was surprised we found so much stuff.
It's a store called Fiesta. It's how would you describe it?
A Mexican supermarket.
Okay, there we go.
Straight up.
Okay. But this is the reason why we went. I heard that we could get black candles for reasonably affordable prices. Black candles are so hard to find.
They are, honestly.
Oh my god.
I think there's just a lot of like superstition and stuff behind black candles, where a lot of places don't feel comfortable selling them.
Yeah, but generally you cannot find black candles in regular stores. You cannot find them in dollar stores. But the only place that I've been able to find them is in metaphysical shops, and sometimes they're a little pricey. But we found like the black pop-out candles, the ones that are in the glass vase. We found those, and they were what, $2 each?
I think so. Yeah, like all the candles except for they did actually have loaded candles.
Oh yeah,
Remember
I forgot
they had actual candles that had they were sealed, but they had like herbs and stuff already in them.
They were already charged for
yeah,
specific
those were more expensive, but understandably so. They were already good to go.
I think they were only like $5 or $6 though, and that's still incredibly well
still
priced.
really good, especially because those charged at a metaphysical shop would have been at least $10, if not $20, like 10, 15, 20 at least.
But holy cow, I walked out of there with like 4 black candles.
Yeah, and I think you got a pink one too.
And a pink one, because pink is also one that's hard for me to find outside of a metaphysical shop. But they had a bunch of other stuff that I was amazed to find. That I'm actually, anytime I need to go for something kind of harder to find outside of a metaphysical shop, that's where I would actually suggest looking first. Because they had a huge herbal section, and not just stuff for cooking. Like, there were specifically ones that we were looking at, like, these are witchy herbs.
Like, there was, a lot of them were like, pepper, and it would be like, for seasoning, or it would tell you how to use it. And there was like a lot of like roots and barks that were just like, here you go, use them.
Yeah, like ones that specifically didn't have a use for it, and we were looking up like, I don't know what some of these are. What are they? And we would look and like, they're huge witchy herbs. I was like, oh. Yeah,
no, a lot of them were like for like topical ointments or some of them you could use for teas, but they were going to be pretty strong. Like, you got to be careful when you're ingesting those. The one that I cracked up at, and I think I asked my mom why they would have this, because I was like, maybe there's something, I don't know. They were selling sulfur.
Oh yeah,
you can buy a little baggie like that big of straight sulfur powder, and I'm like,
that could be useful.
What is that for? Like, it was right next to the cinnamon, like, like got my sulfur, got my salt, like why? And there was no use. It was just like sulfur. That's all it said, and I'm like,
I don't know, but I was actually amazed at their selection, and it wasn't just the herbal section that I was really impressed with. Like, they had a really good assortment of teas, if you were into tea magic, which I am. And then also, they had a really decent incense section, as well as...
Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
They had specifically set oils, floor washes, that you could use. And then, not only that, but they had, like, Florida water, rose water.
Yeah, that was like the essence of rose stuff. That stuff's real strong. Like,
yes,
it is.
But
you gotta read that stuff. Anyway.
But there are a whole bunch of uses for it, and this is stuff that we did not think that we would find here. And if we did think that we might find it there, not in that amount of selection.
In quantities. Like, that rose water thing was like, it's like a full glass bottle. Like, that's gonna last you for a minute.
Yeah.
And then they had that whole section on like they were dyed, so I don't know how useful those would be if you're trying to like rub something down, the dyed oils that were like like prosperity, romance. They even had candles and oils for getting out of trouble with the law. Like, there was all kinds of stuff going on.
There was a lot of stuff that I didn't expect.
You could buy a candle, get the oil, put some sulfur on there. Like, you could get your whole shopping done in one stop shop.
Which, I know that we're talking about a specific store, Fiesta, but this is something that I think is, if not in this amount of quantity, but within kind of the same idea, you can find it at other
Latin Mexican marts, because half Mexican, and I was raised Catholic. Mexicans, especially when they're Catholic, are still very superstitious. Like, a lot of those candles will have, like, Jesus or the Virgin Mary on there, or saints or angels or whoever. And you can get, like, the ones we get are, like, the plain candles, so it's just something, you can just burn. But they also have the ones with specific angels and saints, and some witches and pagans actually work with angels and whatever. Yeah. So if you're into that, that's pre-thing, there's a prayer on there, good to go.
Yeah, and the fact that they also had candles that were specifically set with specific intentions, like they had black candles specifically set for warding.
But yeah, so what I was going to go, I was
like that.
Talking about how like in Vegas there was one called Bonitas, and there's another one I think called Cardenas with like an N on there.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100% on the second one, and I never walked into one, unfortunately, because it wasn't really in my direct area.
Oh, that's a shame.
Right. But like Bonitas did not have like the oils and stuff, but they didn't have black candles, but they had every other color candle.
Which
so,
I'm kind of surprised about.
Yeah, so they had like the reds, the greens, the blues, the Jesus, the Mary, all that stuff. They just didn't happen to have black. I don't know. Like I said, superstition kind of runs deep both ways in Mexico. Like, we need it, but we don't like needing it.
But yeah, I was just amazed to find black candles of any kind in just a regular supermarket. It was amazing. And I'm actually going to go back there anytime I need a black candle, because that's just how it is.
For sure.
But I think one of the other things that we were looking at more in the future is actually going to some actual botanicas.
Yeah, if we can find one.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. Like, and the other thing to look out for, maybe, again, be safe, know your area, go with friends.
Yes.
In distinctly, like, Latin communities or any other communities that aren't necessarily your own, there might be shops that cater to different things within their customs. Like, in a lot of heavily Latin areas, they're going to have small markets, they're going to have botanicas, they're going to have things that, you know, if you're from Mexico or you're from Central or South America, you're from another country and you're missing, you know, the herbs you put on your food, or you're missing something that makes home. Mm-hmm. People that have already moved from there to here, and they did it a long time ago, they set up shop knowing that eventually someone else would want it too.
Yeah.
So you want to look in these areas, you know, heck, go to like places that have like heavily, you know, Asian markets. Go to Indian markets. Like we have a couple Indian markets here near us because we just have a lot of areas here, especially in Irving.
Yeah.
Where you can get all kinds of food. I'm sure herbs are good to get there too.
Yes.
Because they use a lot of cardamom, they use a lot of cinnamon, they use a lot of things. Us being mostly white with some Mexican thrown in here, we don't use a lot of cardamom. Like, that's not something we really use in our food, but cardamom is delicious.
Yeah.
And like, it's in my tea. Like, it's in teas. It's in a lot of dishes.
There are a lot of other herbs that you can find in other places that are great for metaphysical purposes, for witchy purposes. Mm-hmm. And it's just something to think about. You know, think outside your box. And kind of in that kind of same mindset, not just looking at specific stores, you can also think outside the box with using specific items or finding specific items. One of the things that I first started doing when I first, started actually dabbling with what was in my head was birthday candles. Birthday candles work really well if you are doing very small spells. Like I will use one if I'm working on, like I'm having a little bit of trouble with creativity while I'm working on a project, or if I really need to have a quick shot of like communication work right before I go talk to somebody. Like
good for interviews.
If you need just a really quick shot. And also birthday candles are really easy to hide because 1, they're so small, 2, they don't put off smoke, and 3, they burn themselves out as they're baking.
And no one's gonna ask why you got birthday candles.
It's like, I don't know, I bought a cupcake for Alex on her birthday. I don't know.
Right? Or whatever, your birthday is coming up. Whatever, just they're always good to have.
But those you can get for like $1 at a dollar store, or I found some in the value bin at Target. They had a packet of birthday candles. It was black, white, and silver in the package. I was like, oh my God, these are coming home with me. And I got like 2 packets of them. Mm-hmm. It's amazing what you'll find. Just, think outside the back box and look around.
Yeah, and then we went to Joann's the other day, and they had those dual candles that you pointed out where half is one color and the other half is another color. When you're doing a reversal or something, I would probably recommend a bigger candle. Yes. We'll get into that in another video, but when you need something, you need something. And if that's all you can really find and that's all you can have around, it'll work in a pinch.
Yeah, and even if you do a little bitty birthday candle that is half and half of whatever colors you need, you can always pump that stuff.
Roll it in some herbs.
There you go. Roll it in some herbs. Roll it in some oils. put a crystal grid with your intentions around it, incorporate different aspects of other things to supercharge it. It may be a little candle, but you know what? It can pack a big punch.
Pretty
And
much.
I think that's most of kind of what we wanted to talk about. I think we went a little long on our talking, but hopefully we gave you some really amazing ideas on just where to start looking for witching on the cheap.
Yeah. And then as we show stuff, haul stuff, whatever, we'll explain like, oh, we got this here. You might not find the same thing, but that'll give you more of an actual idea. Like,
Yeah.
I actually got my mug at TJ Maxx. Isn't it cute?
And I actually got my mug at a charity shop.
So, you find stuff wherever you need to find it. And, if you set out an intent, you might find it in the least likely place.
I go looking for a lot of things in unlikely places, and it's like I called them there because I find them. Maybe not exactly the way I thought about it, but close enough that it makes me raise my eyebrows. So
the universe works in mysterious ways.
yes, it does. All right, so this is Alara.
And Alex.
And we hope you've enjoyed this video for this witchy web that we're weaving. Bye.